Tonight's show is all about online content, consulting, blogging, getting your business out there. I'm really excited because Jess Estrada of freshjess.com is our guest, and she's crazy well known in the Seattle area. She's someone that supports other young female entrepreneurs and other businesses in the area. So it's going to be a really fun show. Stay tuned for the entire 30 minutes. Use the hashtag YFE Chat Live and tell others to join us on the chat. Be sure to check in and introduce yourself. Donogh. I'm your host tonight for tonight's YFE Chat Live. It's episode 89, and my guest is Jess Estrada. You can tweet her at Jess Estrada. She is the founder of Fresh Jess Media, a site that's very well known in the area. And tonight's episode, I'm excited to tell you, is brought to you by Ovali TV. Ovali believes in building community through shared experiences. We produce professional live webcasts that bring tribes together. And by MailChimp. MailChimp is the best way to design, send, and share email newsletters. You can get started today at MailChimp.com for free. Speaking of MailChimp, make sure that you sign up for our mailing list at yfe.me/mailed-it, because that's the best way to find out what's going on within YFE and stay up to date. So a couple things. Speaking of staying up to date with YFE that's going on, the first thing is that the action calendar's back. It's been a couple weeks since we've done a YFE chat because of, what's that called? Thanksgiving? Because of Thanksgiving. And so the action calendar, we're on day 5, and today's piece of advice or action item that we want you to take is to take Gary Vee's advice and repurpose some of your popular content today. Plus it's YFE chat, which you are watching right now. And so tomorrow's advice is actually a really fun one. Take time to review your journal, notes, post-its, calendar entries you made in 2013, and take pictures, tweet it out with YFE action, and share it with the community. It's always awesome to see what other people are doing and what you do to keep your thoughts together, so we can learn a lot from them. And then finally, Bootstrap Book Club is happening. Question 4 is up, and I thought it was really timely because we put it up yesterday. I was a day late. Sorry about that, you guys. The question is, can you teach yourself to become more charismatic in order to successfully lead, or is it a personality trait you were raised with? And in the book, she uses an example of charisma versus glamour, or charisma versus glamour in President Obama versus President Clinton. And then she also uses this example that says something about, like, it's a very rare case that you can have both glamour and charisma. And the two examples she used were President Reagan and also Nelson Mandela. And today he passed, and I was really grateful to have read that, because it just shows what a remarkable man he is, and just certain personality traits that he had inherently in him that made him really stand out, apart from the actions he took that enabled him to lead a group of people. So anyway, definitely check that out. Hopefully you guys can answer the question in Bootstrap Book Club. You can find out more about that at yfe.me/find me in the club. Let's go ahead and bring Corey back on. Corey Freeman is joining us today, and she's actually filling in for guest co-host from @ the Stacey Harris. You guys, I know you all know and love Stacey. She's hanging out with Gary Vaynerchuk tonight for his Jab Jab Right Hook book, which I'm blocking right now. So Corey, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Awesome. So first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do. We've featured you on the before, and I'm sure a lot of people know of you from the chat. So tell us more about Corey Freeman and Headway and everything you're doing.
Okay. I'm Corey Freeman. I recently, at WordCamp, was described as a Headway themes professor, which I think is going on the business cards now. Basically, I teach people how to use the WordPress framework Headway themes, and on Tuesdays, I go down to my favorite bar and do stand-up comedy. And that's about it right now.
Awesome. I know I asked people not too long ago, are you being aggressive by the end of 2013? And I liked your answer saying something like, I'm aggressively winding down. That was a smart answer. So, Corey, is there anything in the chat that's happening that you want to give a shout out to? Any of YFEs?
We're talking about dishwashers. I know Squirrel Chase spent 13 months without a dishwasher.
Oh, it's the
and
worst.
Christy Heron is loading hers right now. Everyone's with you on getting your dishwasher fixed, and we're all behind you on that. I think I just broke mine.
Oh, Corey, it is the worst, so hopefully you can get it fixed.
I'm just going to assume that part isn't critical to the dishwashing process.
All right, well, Corey, we'll bring you back on in the end. Make sure that, where is everyone tweeting you tonight?
Check me out at YF Entrepreneur. I'm filling in for Stacey. Tweet me things that I can talk about.
Use the hashtag YFE chat, and we'll bring Corey back in at the end.
Yes.
Thanks, Corey. So let's go ahead and welcome in Jess Estrada. Jess Estrada is founder of Fresh Jess Media, focused on helping brands, small businesses, and nonprofits alike bring their online presence to life. She created FreshJess.com, a life and style blog, in 2008. Fresh Jess offers a unique perspective on Pacific Northwest style, events, food, music, and life in the Emerald City. Prior to Fresh Jess Media, Jess was part of dynamic teams at the Greater Seattle Chamber of Commerce, Nike, and Banyan Branch. So, Jess, welcome onto the show. So grateful to have you on tonight.
Hi.
So
happy to be here.
Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into Fresh Jess Media, because we mentioned briefly that you were at the Chamber of Commerce, but since then, I mean, it's been quite a journey you've taken.
Yeah, so I was the events director at the Seattle Chamber of Commerce, and I was there right when Twitter and Facebook and even LinkedIn were starting to get some traction as far as what is the social media thing, what are we doing? And I started the Chamber's social media, and that got the attention of the co-founders of Banyan Branch. And I moved on to become their first client director and then eventually director of marketing there. And spending 3.5 years in a social media agency was a lot of fun. It was a really great learning experience because social media was the wild, wild west back then, and we were, figuring things out and working with really great clients. And sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you were known, you're still known, but I remember in 2008, I think, is when I first discovered who Jess Estrada is, and I believe it was through Crave at the time, or maybe it was through the Chamber. I can't remember exactly which one came first. But people, you spoke on panels. It was a really big deal that you brought the Chamber onto Twitter. So the fact that Banyan Branch saw that, and that's part of the piece. And I'm sorry to interrupt you on this, but I want to ask you, as far as, 'cause really in both situations, Banyan Branch and the Chamber, you really were more of an entrepreneur, someone that, started in an organization and had that entrepreneurial mindset, the get-go, starting things. How are you able to do that? Because we see examples in both the Chamber and in your Banyan Branch life. How are you able to get initiatives started in something that has such a, maybe a bureaucratic type structure? There's, that type of a thing.
I had really great leadership that supported me, especially at the Chamber when I wanted to kind of get them started on Twitter and Facebook. I had a great boss who was always, my champion and helped me convince the CEO and everyone that this was a great idea. Oh, and the communications team, because I was on the events team.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It would eventually be a part of their responsibilities. But I took my personal interest and growing interest in social media, and my boss saw that, and it was a woman, Emmy Jordan. She's still at the Chamber today, and she was just such a great mentor to me, and I think that was really key to helping me kind of cultivate that spirit of entrepreneurism. And the Chamber of Commerce, they work with hundreds of small businesses here in the region, and so I kind of couldn't help but catch that entrepreneurial spirit just by nature of always being around other small business owners. So, after spending a few years at Banyan, I decided about 1.5 years ago to go off on my own. And I started my blog, Fresh Jess, back when I was still at the Chamber. And so I'd been blogging for a few years by the time I decided to take a serious look at it and say, hey, I could make money doing something I really love doing already. And and just go from there.
So let's talk about making money and having a blog and being that personal brand. How much of the consulting work that you do now with Fresh Just Media, and you should also mention what work you actually do with Fresh Just Media, how much of that is incorporated your personal brand and your blog into it? Do people hire you because you are Fresh Just, or do they hire you for your past work experience?
So Fresh Just Media is kind of my umbrella business name for my consulting business, which is mostly around social media strategy and community management for brands. I'm also a freelance writer, so I have some writing gigs. I write for the Independent Fashion Bloggers Weekly over at heartifb.com. And on the Fresh Just side, I work with brands on my blog through sponsored campaigns, sponsored blog posts, giveaways, events and things like that, speaking gigs. And it was just sort of a way for me to tie in all of my professional skills and talents and my personal interests in writing and blogging and in social media. It was a really hard decision to make, but something that I wanted so badly to do that I couldn't deny that I had to go off on my own and do it.
So how are you working with brands today? What does that look like now?
It's definitely a balance between working with different consulting clients on their social media, which can be very demanding, and then on the blog side, at any given time, I'm working with 2 to 3 brands in various aspects, whether that's a sponsored post or a giveaway, styling an outfit piece from their latest collection, things like that. So it's really across the board. But again, it kind of all goes back to the things that I'm interested in personally and professionally, kind of melding together. That being social media, writing, blogging, and to some extent personal brand. And sorry, I didn't answer your previous question, but I think every single one of my clients that I've got in the last year and a half have been through word of mouth or just from brands who have found me online, found my blog online through my social media presence and just through Google.
Well, and I should ask, so a specific example that I'm thinking of is like Rivet and Sway. That's what their name is? And I would only know of that company because of you. And the images that are, you wearing the glasses and at the events and posting things. So for that example, is that something that the brand hired you to create content, or are you creating content on behalf of the brand? What kind of relationship does that look like?
So when I started Fresh Jess, I really wanted to showcase the best of Seattle in my eyes. I'm a native. I was born and raised here, and I feel like we're a minority nowadays, but any chance that I can feature a Seattle-based business, whether that's an independent designer or your really well-known brands that have a home base in Seattle, like Nordstrom or Microsoft, those are really important to me. So when Rivet and Sway approached me and wanted to, I hosted an event that they did in their new office space in Pioneer Square, and it's a partnership that we cultivated together to show off their frames, but also to show off a Seattle business. There's some other bigger players in their specific market that you might know of, but the fact that they're in your hometown and in your city makes them, to me, a standout. And I'm more open to sharing that than a random brand that I may not be into that's not located in Seattle.
So you have a pretty well-defined niche then in Seattle, and someone that fits really your style. And we've been talking about personal branding a lot over the last couple of weeks with YFE, and I feel like your personal brand is really well honed. Is Fresh Just Media, is that any different than what you would portray yourself as on social media? Is it the same?
I try to make that line between who I am and the work that I do. I try to blur that line as much as possible, only because when my clients and brands are coming to work with me, they're coming because of who I am and who I am on Twitter and Facebook, on Instagram. That's really me. I'm not any different offline than I am online. And it's what attracts people to read my blog. It's what attracts clients to come and work with me. I like to consider social media and Fresh Jess as sort of a living portfolio. So I'm always writing on Fresh Jess. I'm always sharing what's new in my life and my interests on social media. And if a client wants to work with me because I'm talking about bulldogs or hip hop music or fashion or the UFC, then cool.
Well, that's so true. When it comes to consultants, you're really hiring someone that you enjoy. I mean, because there's a lot of consultants that are experts in social media or in community building, and it's a matter of personal branding then, what sets you apart from others. So now, as far as, moving in from being an employee into more of the consultant role, creating this agency, was there ever any overlap as far as taking on clients or taking a client away from the agency?
No. I was in a director of marketing role for the agency, so I didn't have any direct
so it was never an issue
relationship with. Right. And I'm not playing at all in their, the kinds of clients that they would work with are much bigger than anyone's that they're beyond my capacity.
And you're still in good relations with them, right?
Yeah. I actually both Alex and Dave have referred work to me. So
nice.
It's a nice referral thing, and everyone at Bannon is just, they're really good people.
So as far as networking has been, I think, a big theme in your life when you look at how you started with Seattle Chamber and the events, and you were, like I was saying, you were involved with Crave when I met you. So as far as networking goes, I wanted to, before we get too far into it, you have some Twitter friends, and this is going to sound really creeper, but I've been following you on Twitter, right, since 2008, and you have these friends that are notable friends. I've met them at networking events, like, casually, but I've, since 2008, I know what you guys have done, and you've all grown crazy, just done insane things. These big startup companies, hot startups, are picking you out, and you're starting your own companies. How has that group of social media friends benefited you? Has it in any way benefited you? Is there any kind of masterminding that happens there, even if it's in a casual type of a way? I mean, what does that look like?
So I started using Twitter regularly in 2009, and back then Twitter was a totally different playing field. It felt smaller, and Seattle in particular, the social media community that was really active on Twitter back then, I mean, we talked amongst each other, and it didn't really matter what industry you were in, or who you knew before you started using Twitter. It was just everyone was talking to everyone, and
your common interest was Twitter.
Right. And so, there were a group of girls that I just befriended who happened to live in Seattle, were active on Twitter, and had some kind of connection to me, whether it was through blogging, fashion, entrepreneurship, women business owners. I really gravitate towards women business owners, obviously, since you and I are friends. And it's a different kind of connection because we're friends, we have a lot of personal interests, but there's also that underlying understanding of, we're active on social media and active on Twitter, and it's kind of like tying in professional and personal together, like I mentioned before. It's just something where I had a new connection of sorts, just because social media was growing so quickly back then, and it was so new to people. Things that I couldn't talk about with my friends that I'd known my whole life, I could easily talk about with my friends that I'd met off of Twitter. And
that's funny that you say that, because that is, I usually say that young female entrepreneurs, the thing that makes me more comfortable about talking to them is generally because we have an idea of what we do every day and what we go through and how much work it is, whereas my other girlfriends will say, oh, I'm crazy busy at work, and they don't think I do anything because I'm at home or I have a flexible schedule. But the other thing that really does define the different relationships is that connection with technology and social media, because my other girlfriends, my regular girlfriends, they're barely on Facebook. They all have old school like Windows, not even Windows phones. They have like old school phones that don't, I mean, they're, don't do social media. They don't have iPhones type of a thing. And it is funny how much social media can be a common interest.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I'm the kind of person where if I'm close to someone, I want all of my close friends and people to know each other. So as I've grown with some of, with girls on Twitter, who I met off Twitter, they have met and spent time with my real life best friend who I've known since I was 14. And if they hang out together, that's fine. They've created their own friendship. So it's sort of just these concentric circles of connections that have been made, and social media just happened to throw a different means of doing that.
It's funny. Corey Freeman is asking on the chat if anyone else is making real friends via social media. And it's funny because that's how I've made all of my like real friend type people, is through Twitter, or it's usually me stalking people and then saying basically, in a roundabout way, will you be my friend? But so anyway, Jess, getting into some practical pieces. Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Stacey Harris, she's at his Jab Jab Right Hit event tonight, and it's overwhelming, the stuff that he talks about in there, all these things that we should do. And one of the big takeaways that he's been pushing on all these live streams lately is the idea that you need to respect the context that you put your content in. Mm-hmm. So when you work with clients or you share your own blog content, how do you shape the way that you share it? If it's on Pinterest versus Facebook versus Twitter, do you take his word to the T, or do you kind of flex a little bit in that? Do you do any scheduling?
I absolutely agree with what Gary is saying. I think with each social media site, the audience is different. They respond, even though I might have an account on all of these different sites, the way that I process and the things that I'm attracted to on the different social media sites, it's just that they stick out differently. And so when I work with clients, it's a matter of taking their messages and their content and shaping it in a way that best relates to the audience in a particular site. So, with Instagram, for example, obviously we want really high quality, eye-catching photography. And you also want any caption that you have along with Instagram, has to be really concise and to the point. And also use the correct hashtags versus a Facebook update. That's going to read a lot differently. And occasionally I'll push an Instagram to Facebook or into Twitter, and I will schedule tweets for clients, not for myself. But I don't do any nothing between Twitter and Facebook, because those two audiences are totally different and don't read things the same way. And I don't like to schedule to Facebook from Hootsuite or any other scheduling tool, just because it never seems to play with Facebook and read the right way. So it's just easier to take that extra time. Right now it's easier anyway to take that time and go to each site and tailor that message. And it's just really important, because that shows that you're understanding who your audience is, who your brand's audience is, and taking those messages to tailor it so that they feel like they know that they're able to engage with the brand in a way that suits them.
I think that makes sense to take the extra time. At times, I'll still just push it across all networks, because I figure, it's better that it's there than not there. But at the same time, I know deep down that this is really lame, Jen. You should be doing a better job, because people are not going to appreciate this. So I like the advice, and hopefully, myself and others will start taking the extra time to do that. But as a blogger, so one other practical piece I wanted to talk about was that I'm sure you get hundreds of emails each week asking you to write about them or to review your products, especially Seattle brands, Seattle events, that type of a thing. And I've actually had a number of companies, a few companies that have emailed me or talked to me over the last 6 months that have said they wanted you to cover their brand specifically, because you do have such a good eye. So with that being said, how would you want a brand, to pitch you? Do you want people to send you a press release? Do you want someone to send you, an email? What does that look like?
Email is always best, and the more concise your message is, the better. And visuals are really helpful too, whether that's a PDF of your lookbook or a link to your your website and social media sites, or any actual photos that you can attach. Those are always really, really helpful. And any ties that you can make to why a blogger, whether that's me or anyone else, should cover your product or brand or event, that's always really helpful. It sticks out because more often than not, we're lumped in with a mass group email with a standard press release that's really long in text and then has some photos embedded that are really not good quality. And so I also encourage people who want to get a hold of me to send me a tweet or find me in some other means and just show me that that I'm present on social media, that you've read my blog.
You're not just a name on the list type of a thing.
Right. Yeah. And I can't tell you how many times I've gotten email pitches that start with "Dear blogger" or "Dear someone else's name." And it's just, I don't want to feel like I'm just part of a long checklist of people that you're trying to get a hold of. And in turn, my readers will know when I'm not genuine. And so I need to make that personal connection to what I'm covering. Otherwise, I just don't feel right covering it. And over the years, I try to be a lot more selective in the kinds of events that I attend or the kinds of brands and products that I'm talking about, just because I want my readers to always know that those are things that I'm genuinely interested in or things that I would shop or attend if I hadn't been invited to them. So.
Well, Jess, thank you so much for being on tonight. I know you have an event after this. Jess, one of my favorite things about following you is that you are constantly going out to things and experiencing things that, we talk about glamour with the Bootstrap Book Club, and I really do think that you, to me, are like glamorous, and that idea that you wear, nice clothes, you have good photography, and you're constantly going out to events. You're laughing now, but
I'm wearing like fleece leggings right now.
See, you're not supposed to tell anyone that. You're supposed to say, I always wear really cute booties, and I'm always
I just think that's funny. And I want people to know in Seattle that I'm in fleece, I'm in workout clothes, I work from home, and I'm just, there's personal style, there's fashion and there's personal style. And, I like to, when I'm out at events and whatnot, of course, I like to, try things and put on a great outfit, but I'm normal just like everyone else.
It's not like it every day. Gosh, yeah. Jess, you really ruined that for all of us.
Sorry.
Well, thank you for being on. And the event that you're going to, I want to make sure that we mention it. It's the, you said it's your sister's, or?
It's, so my cousin's fiance, Ashley, works at Tether, which is a creative studio down in Pioneer Square. It's first Thursday tonight, and they are hosting an art auction to benefit NAFCON, who's helping out with typhoon relief efforts in the Philippines. And NAFCON is one of the biggest nonprofits that does help with the Philippines, any disaster relief or just help that they need. So it's really important to me, both because I have a family tie to it, but because I am Filipino American, and it's really important to me that I support any typhoon relief efforts that I can.
And your website has a number of resources as far as if a company wants to give during the holidays to that relief effort. Is it just on your website that they could go to freshjess.com and find that list?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Make sure you guys check it out. And then where can people find you on Twitter?
At Jess Estrada.
And on Instagram at Jess Estrada too, right? Mm-hmm. Make sure you guys follow her.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Well, thank you, Jess. Enjoy the rest of your evening. It's been really fun chatting with you.
You too. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, so this has been Jennifer Donogh hosting YFE Chat Live, and we were just talking with Jess Estrada. Estrada. I'm starting to slur words. I did not even drink because I'm pregnant, so I promise. It's just been a long day. So make sure that you check out our website, freshjess.com. She's got some really beautiful photos on there, especially if you're in the Seattle area. It's just a great resource to know, and also it's a great model to go after if it's something that you're interested in doing yourself. She's someone that's really well known in Seattle, and like you probably heard from the live stream, she has a lot of experience doing what she's doing. So Next Thursday, we're back here at the same time, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. And then I also have a daily live webcast at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on yfelive.com. Hopefully you guys will check that out because it's a 15-minute burst of networking. We put all of the replays, including this one, up on YouTube and iTunes and on the youngfemaleentrepreneurs.com blog. Thank you all for showing up live. I'm going to bring Corey on in just a moment so that we can finish up the show. Hopefully we'll see you again next Thursday. Thank you all.